So now you've thought about language and fiction text, we need to be thinking about what is the difference with non-fiction? Well, essentially nothing, but you will be writing about texts that have very different purposes, namely that they're true and often factual. In a non-fiction text, you might comment on things like the real-life characters, how they behave, what they say, what they're like, perhaps some dialogue that's used. You might also comment on the setting or the atmosphere as well. But do remember that these will be real places, such as the inside of a factory or life on a farm, for example. As I said before for fiction, from an earlier session, always be thinking about the techniques and devices that you could be writing about. But remember, you don't need to have a tick list to check off these. It's more important to be original with your interpretation. And I'm sorry here if I sound like a broken record, but hopefully you'll remember it. So now we're going to look at an example of a non-fiction text. Think about what you could write about it in terms of the effectiveness of the language. Okay, so this is the example. Winwood House is a perfect place to stay. It has been the best hotel in all of Southwood since 1886. That's 100 years of perfection, and it does not seem to show any signs of changing. So we can be thankful for this. Winwood House is 5-star and promises to offer an experience like no other. You've only got to go to www.winwoodhousehotel.co.uk to see what you're missing. Okay, so the use of the proper noun here, followed by the alliterative use of perfect place, makes it sound like nothing could be criticised about it. The superlative best makes the reader think that there is nowhere better to stay, and the fact it's been there since 1886 suggests it must be doing something right. The plural personal pronoun we makes the reader more involved in the text and is followed by the second person you've, which is aimed at the reader, and then the inclusion of the website, which means perhaps it's a more reliable and trustworthy piece of text. So always consider how language works. Remain focused on that. And now we're going to move on to think about some other techniques and devices you could use when analysing non-fiction texts. So very much like with fiction texts, you are likely going to be asked to write about language in non-fiction texts. Now obviously, perhaps, the features you'll be looking for and commenting on will be similar, but the text you are expected to write about will be factual and informative. Remember, they are non-fiction. You might have to write about language and text from different time periods. So consider purpose and audience here, as well as the language that is used, which might include contemporary language as well as examples from different eras. I'm going to read you an extract from a modern non-fiction text. Here goes. If you are hosting a holiday gathering, it's easy to make it especially memorable with a table setting that is as festive and appealing as the food you serve on it. Sure, you'd rather enjoy the company of your family and friends than polished silver, and you can create a sparkling setting quickly and easily with the right tools and know-how. Some simple tips for your most festive holiday table yet. Be bold with colour. William Sonnemer's recent Taste magazine feature on holiday tables recommends the holiday hues of beetroots, apples and radishes, highlighted with red and green garnishes. Make the colours truly pop by using sparkling silver platters for serving your holiday recipes. Now you have probably picked up on the fact that the aim of this text is to offer advice and provide some information for you, the audience. Some points that I've noticed about it which you may find useful are, it uses the second person direct address you. It's appealing and engaging. So a sentence starts with sure, which makes it quite informal. It uses sibilants, sparkling setting and sparkling silver. It uses metaphorical, evocative language, make the colours truly pop. There are more points that you could comment on regarding language, of course. Above all, you can see that this is a non-fiction text. It provides information and offers advice to the audience. So that's fairly straightforward, right? What about with a text that was written in the 1800s, like the one I'm going to read to you by Robert Louis Stevenson, who's famous for writing Treasure Island? But it's not only the person himself who suffers from his busy habits, but his wife and children, his friends and relations, and down to the very people he sits with in a railway carriage or an omnibus. Perpetual devotion to what a man calls his business is only to be sustained by perpetual neglect of many other things. And it is not by any means certain that a man's business is the most important thing he has to do. To an impartial estimate, it will seem clear that many of the wisest, most virtuous and most beneficent parts that are to be played upon the theatre of life are filled by gratuitous performers and pass among the world at large as phases of idleness. For in that theatre, not only the walking gentlemen, singing chambermaids, and diligent fiddlers in the orchestra, but those who look on and clap their hands from the benches do really play a part and fulfil important offices towards the general result. Now, you have probably worked out here that this is an interesting article about the importance of wasting time and how it's good for you. But okay, not that good. It doesn't mean you can sit around all day staring out of the window. But a question might be, how does Stevenson portray his thoughts that being idle is healthy? An extract from an answer might be something like this. So Stevenson's first sentence uses the verb suffers, which is negative, suggesting having busy habits is not good. Then he comments that if a man is too busy, it results in perpetual neglect of many other things. So this implies that if one is too busy, it is not good. Therefore, being less busy is healthy. Now, of course, this is not a complete answer, but it is a start. Let's look at a more modern text on a similar theme. But this time, the argument is that being busy, bees, is best. Do you like my alliteration there? Get up off the sofa, put on your running shoes and go pound the pavements. Okay, you'd rather sit and watch some online streaming service or play a game against your mates, but the fresh air is by far the best cure for pasty skin. Being cosy in your centrally heated bedroom is nice, right? Well, maybe. What about vitamin D? You won't get much of that staring at your TV screen. So a question here could be, how does the writer use language to persuade readers that going outside is healthy? To open, the writer uses the imperative verb get up as part of a triplet. It makes the reader consider how inactive they are being, and the second person direct address you'd, along with the colloquial mates, is appealing and engaging, even if the content is somewhat sarcastic. Now, you might say that both of these responses are effective, but they're dealing with quite different texts. So always consider the language of your text that you're reading and what its intention is. On the downloadable worksheet, you will see the same texts that have been used in this lesson, but with different types of language-focused questions. You might benefit from having a go at these in your own time. Next, let's keeping on and build on our understanding further, its structure.